Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 152 of the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian, and we've got the second part of Damien and the Omen series.
Yes.
This will be fun, I think, to finish this series off.
Yeah, now a word of warning. Brian and I just got through recording our 2-hour dismemberment for August. Yeah. It was a huge thing. My voice is about shot. I think Brian's is too. So This episode may be a little shorter than we had originally anticipated just because I think our voices are both going. And it's getting late, so we're going to try to be a little more expedient in this episode than maybe you're accustomed to from our summer Slaycation. But to be fair, the movies we're covering don't really deserve a lot of in-depth discussion, I don't think.
No, definitely one of those series that kind of like sours down, basically. But I will, and I know I had said I'd talk about like that. I think if you've heard the dismemberment first, I said, I'll tell the story in the regular episode. Actually, no, it depends on which order we release this and you hear it. But either way, I'm going to save that story for a later date, just so we can for the aspect of time here. We want to try and get to the meat of this. Because we do have a couple of first chop items, so we want to get through that. Yeah,
so we said we may or may not do a first chop for these summer Slaycations, and in this one we are going to do one, so let's get right into it. This is our first chop. All right, unfortunately, the thing that actually kicked off this first chop was some sad news, and that is that actor JOHN SAXON passed away, and he was probably best known by most horror fans as his role in A Nightmare on Elm Street. But he had an incredible, almost 200 acting credits on IMDb.
Even my mom knew him. She said, "Did you hear John Saxon died?" So, I mean, that's just how, like...
And TV and movies. He did both.
Yeah.
And just tons of TV series, tons of horror credit. I'm not going to go through every horror thing in there. They're kind of hard to pick out because he's just did so much. And just a fantastic actor, and really hated to see him pass because he was definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, this one kind of stings. This is like one of those, like, you know what, screw you 2020 already, haven't you done enough? I loved him in everything he was in, so R.I.P. for JOHN SAXON. 83. He lived to 83. I mean, at least, he led a nice, long life with and was never heard an unkind word about him, so.
No. All right, Brian, I did have a couple of films I watched in addition to our summer Slaycation movies. And the first one I think we're going to save for a future episode. That was The Lodge.
Yeah, we need to discuss that.
That movie was really worthy of more discussion than I'm willing to give it in this episode. So we're going to push that to next episode. But I did want to talk about one real briefly. I think we'd mentioned the Gallows Act 2.
Right.
That we had seen advertised on Hulu. And I decided to go ahead and watch it. Honestly, I don't remember if I saw the Gallows Act 1. So I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to watch the Gallows Act 2. Whatever. It's I feel like the original Gallows was found footage. This one is has some found footage, but it's not all found footage. And it because it takes a lot of it is a girl kind of telling a story through her YouTube channel. So that part of it is "quote unquote" footage.
So they updated the
but there's other sequences.
Format.
Yeah, there's other sequences that are not. So it's kind of a hybrid, and it's about this play called The Gallows, which in the play, when the play was originally produced by this high school theater company, one of the actors accidentally hung himself on stage, and that's how this
right.
Play
now I kind of remember that.
Yeah, so. The movie is about this girl that she's new in town, she's new high school, and she's in drama, and she decides to get involved in this play. And it's interesting because they tied this movie into the Charlie phenomenon. You've heard of that? I think we've talked about it on the show. That's the one I scared my daughter so bad with, where you take the two pencils and cross them, and you supposedly summon the spirit called Charlie. Well, they kind of tied that whole thing in with this somehow, so that like the spirit was Charlie, and the guy that originally died on stage was named Charlie or something. I don't know. It somehow they tied this folklore together, I guess, to make it more relevant. And but the movie itself is kind of your standard, jump scare type horror movie, and it was okay. I thought really what saved it was the lead actress, because she plays this high school student, and they spend quite a bit of time in the movie, probably 30 or 40 minutes, developing her character, which I thought was really interesting, because typically movies don't spend that amount of time to make you invested in the character like that. And she's very sympathetic because she's new at this school. She's a hot girl, but she's kind of a geek too. And she's very kind-hearted. You can see her. She reaches out to the underdogs in the school. So you instantly feel this connection to her and some sympathy for her. And I thought that really kind of saved the movie for me, because I really identified with her character. And again, sort of run-of-the-mill, jump scare city, blah, blah, blah. And the ending was a little dark, but I don't know. It's okay. It's worth checking out. I like the lead character, and I like the way they really fleshed her out and made you emotionally invested in what's going to happen to her, which I thought was kind of refreshing for a movie of this caliber.
Yeah, that's good. They do that. It's good to give you a little surprise to it. Something you wouldn't expect in like such a common trope type of film. But
yeah. So I don't know how it compares to the Gallows one, because I don't remember that one enough to know if I watched it or not. But it's worth a look. It's on Hulu.
Yeah, I mean, I own that one, the first Gallows. So I'll have to look at it and see what it's. Rewatch it again. I know we watched it. Julie and I watched it. But I kind of remember it being very, it was definitely that
kind of forgettable,
classic kind of found footage. Yeah, very, very generic. But
the last thing on our first chop is, of course, the fantastic watch party we had with Lauren Marie Taylor. We did a Friday the 13th Part 2 watch party. We want to thank everyone that came to that, because we had a blast. It was a ton of fun. I mean, it felt like the movie was 20 minutes long. That's how fast it went.
It really went fast. Oh my gosh. And I mean, Lauren Marie, who is just, we can't say enough of how much we just absolutely adore her. She is so gracious all the time and so much fun. And so, you know what, she just adds so much to it. Like, it was great to see, because as the movie was going along, she was adding stuff and people were asking her questions, and it was just real. It was like, it went as perfect as I had hoped it could go. Like, it literally, there was not even a, hiccup. I mean, I know some people joined late. I think it was a little tricky because a lot of the watch parties are just, you can send out a link, but Amazon caps it at a certain number, so we can't just send out a link for those. Yeah. Because, God knows then, like, all these people that wanted to be there, like, they could possibly miss out. I don't know if there's a bot out there that could simulate space. Who knows? But either way, what we did is we sent out, some promos for it, and if you wanted to, just let us know. And I think that system worked pretty well. We have another one we want to do on Prime based off the movie that's on there, which we're not going to reveal yet. Yeah. But we'll probably do that similar format where, because I love the Prime format. I think it's very clean and it's very simple to do.
Yeah, it was really, technically was very impressive. I thought it would just work.
Yeah, and I like that, like, Tim can, or in this case, because he started it, just because where I am currently located is the Wi-Fi's been spotty, so I didn't want it to cut out in the middle. So Tim hosted it, and he basically controls it all, so it's great. It's like, he just hits start. It's not like, okay, everyone press play together now. And
yeah,
there's none of that. So it's pretty straightforward. And we just had a ton of fun. We had, some of our listeners in there. We had Ket from Kim and Ket Stay Alive joined us. So it was a lot of different people. It was like from listeners to, to other podcasters to, of course, great Lauren Marie Taylor. So it was really, really just a ton of fun. I couldn't have asked for a better night on that one.
Yeah, great success, and we will definitely be doing some more of those because they were just so much fun. So we will we'll let you know. Stay tuned for our social media channels and the show, so you can hear about our next one that we have planned, which I think is going to be a ton of fun. So
yeah, that one will definitely be a little more like Mystery Science Theater-esque, because it's a pretty zany movie that seems like it'll be perfect for that kind of format. And of course, now that if you noticed, you've been following us on our Instagram, my nice brother had decided to teach me how to do those Instagram stories finally. So I've been doing a lot of those things with effects and everything, and that's kind of fun. So,
all right, well, let's get to our featured films this week. We are covering Omen III, The Final Conflict. It's technically known as The Final Conflict without Omen in the title, but they kind of forced them to put Omen in the title because nobody knew what the heck it was.
Right, and they kind of did that too once that when they were coming out with the box set. It's one of those like retroactive title changes to give it a number, just so it, to fix it. But so we have that one coming up. Omen IV: The Awakening, which is a TV movie, and then of course the Omen remake in 2006. So I guess we'll just kick it off right now with the. Do you want to like do it a little different where like we'll alternate?
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
The thing. So I'll start this one. It's Omen III: The Final Conflict, 1981, directed by Graham Baker. Stars Sam Neill as Damien Thorne, Rosanna Brazzi as DiCarlo, Don Gordon as Harvey Dean, Lisa Harrow as Kate Reynolds, Barnaby Holm as Peter Reynolds, and Mason Adams as the President. And the synopsis is, the now adult Antichrist plots to eliminate his future divine opponent while a cabal of monks plot to stop him. So, yeah, this one, I remember watching this back when it used to be on cable, and I thought, I was like, I remember, Sam Neill, and I liked it, and it was Omen 3. This time, I did not like it as much. I actually didn't really enjoy it, even remotely what I thought I would. And then I realized maybe I was thinking of Jurassic Park 3 as Sam Neill. No.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, when I saw the first kill scene in this movie, which is a suicide,
right?
An ambassador, he rigs up this shotgun so that when his aides open the door, it'll fire the shotgun and blow his head off. And I remember, I was like, "Oh my God, this is that scene!" I remember a movie from my childhood in which I saw this sequence, and it freaked me out. And I guarantee you, I saw this probably after it come on HBO, maybe in 82 or 83 or something.
Yeah,
so,
it used to play a lot on cable.
Yeah, so I was probably only like 9 or 10 years old at the time, and I had no clue. I'm literally telling you, I learned this week that movie was Omen 3. I had no clue what that movie was, but if you had told me, name some scarring films from your childhood, I would say, well, there's this one movie where this guy gets his head blown off when they open the door. And the whole thing of like them being responsible for the gun going off, like for some reason just freaked me out more than him just doing it himself. Like something about like committing suicide but making the other people feel responsible for it was almost more terrible to me.
And no pun intended, but, well, actually, what am I saying? Of course, it's pun intended on this show. I was going to say, this movie does start off with a bang.
It does.
But after that, I was like, I don't know. It seemed to, like, go the opposite. Like, most of the, like, Omen 1 and 2 kind of had a slow burn leading up to really exciting sequences. This, I felt like, had the best part in the beginning, and then started to go down. I mean, there was that one sequence with the monks where they were trying to get him, but other than that, it seemed like it started off strong and then just kind of went nowhere, and it kind of got a little dull, in all honesty.
It really is dull, and we had mentioned when we had covered the Omen and Omen 2 how it's punctured. It feels like a slow burn movie because there's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of travel back and forth, people talking to each other. But it's punctuated with these really iconic death sequences, which are really good. And like you said, this one has that really good one at the beginning of the suicide, which was horrifying. But after that, there's like nothing that's really memorable in the way that the scenes in The Omen were memorable. Or even Omen 2, I would say. I mean, those strive to have that same kind of impact. And none of these really did. I mean, you had a guy fall off a bridge. Big whoop. It just lacked the intensity of the first two films, and I mean Sam Neill's good in it. He's impossibly young in this movie.
Yeah, he's good. This is nothing on him because Sam Neill happens to be one of my favorite actors, and I think he does an amazing job. It's not him. It's definitely not him or his character per se. I just think the whole movie, like, it's just missing something. And I don't even know. It probably, like, dare I say, I'll need to watch it again, maybe this time to try and pick it out. And I think I went into it a little bit unguarded because I thought I remember really liking it back in the day. But maybe I was just younger and I didn't, I didn't catch things. I don't know.
And admittedly, I mean, you don't have a child anymore to play off the old evil child thing, which even Omen 2 could play off from a little bit, even though he was older, he was still a kid. Whereas this one, you got basically an evil adult. And I will say, it still kind of keeps with the Omen theme, and I'm saying this because it's in sharp contrast to Omen 4, which we're about to get to. It keeps with the Omen 3, it keeps with the Omen theme of the Antichrist not being explicitly evil, if that makes sense. I mean, he's what he's doing to set up Armageddon is evil in and of itself, but he never strikes me as being inherently evil, because if you read the Bible and stuff, the Antichrist is supposed to be charming and is going to be one of those charismatic people that other people are going to trust. I mean, he's not going to be coming out with horns on his head where everybody goes, "Oh, he's evil." He kind of tricks people with his charisma, and I thought Sam Neill did a really good job of portraying Damien that way. He's like this businessman, and he has, even though the things he's doing are ultimately going to lead to the end of the world, he never seems like he's some evil dictator or anything.
Right, and I mean, I think to play, it's like a lot of things that you could take a lot of liberties with the Damien character when he is young. Because it's harder to hide those, because he's a kid, so he doesn't know, or he's still young, he's still going through adolescence, he's still trying to learn. But here now you have an adult that should know better what's going on. So I think Sam Neill did a great job of knowing what's going on, but not letting it appear openly. So you still have that little bit of veil of indifference, and I think that's where this one has the one strength it has is Sam Neill's portrayal of an adult Damien, which probably is not that easy to pull off.
Right? Yeah.
Because you don't want to just play evil, because that's not what Damien is really. He's not just this flat out just like you said, I'm going to be evil with the horns. No, there's a manipulation factor involved. There's a charm factor. There's depth to his evil.
Yeah, and that's what I've always liked about the Omen series, because it does portray the Antichrist in a more, I guess, realistic way. Because if somebody was just that inherently evil, like a Hitler-type character, you'd have a large faction of people. I don't know, I guess in a way you could sense there was a large faction of people under Hitler that followed him everywhere too. So maybe that's not a great analogy, but you know what I mean.
I know what you meant, though. Yeah,
he's I love the subtlety of the evil in the Omen movies, where it's not just, I go around killing people or I go around kicking puppies. There's always a little bit of charm there underneath the surface. Or in the case of the kid Damiens, some people just don't see it at all. They just see him as a regular kid, and it's only certain people that have the insight to tell what he really is. So
it's kind of usually the people find out too late that need to know. So
So so I don't know. I was a little disappointed in this one. I expected to enjoy it more, just because by the time I had finished the second film, I was kind of fully invested in the whole Omen series. Because I really enjoy Damien, Omen 2. So I was really expecting to. I didn't expect this one to be as good as the first two, but I was kind of a little disappointed in how far it fell below the quality of Omen 2.
Pun, or maybe pun intended, when the guy fell off the bridge.
So I don't know. I was a little disappointed, but in hindsight, after seeing Omen 4, maybe it's not that bad. I don't know.
Watch those back to back if you really want to get a perspective on how Omen 3 was a lot more serviceable. But
I think ultimately my conclusion for Omen 3, for anybody who's wondering, would be it's sort of like if you took all the talky parts of Omen 1 and Omen 2 and put them together and left out all the actual horror kill scenes and stuff. It's kind of what it felt like. It was a little more, it just felt dry to me. It just felt dry.
Yeah. That's a good word, dry. Yeah. I said dull, but dry is probably a better word. Because, the topic at hand is intriguing. It's just, the movie, I think it's in comparison to the other ones, it just comes out. It's dry. Dry is a great word for that. So.
Yeah.
Do you want to give any of the trivia for this? I mean,
let's just give a couple for each film, I guess. We'll just kind of go through a couple of the more, just a couple of the highlights. I mean, this one, we talked about that 100-foot fall from a bridge. Stuntman Vic Armstrong claimed that backwards fall was one of the scariest stunts he ever performed. And I can imagine that seems pretty scary doing that.
Yeah. So here's an interesting thing. So actor James Mason acted as a sponsor to the production for actor Sam Neill. Mason originally suggested to the film producers that he should check out Neill. Producer Harvey Bernhard had Neill flown into London for an audition paid for by Mason. Neill later reimbursed Mason for the airfare, and he drew on some of Mason's mannerisms for his performance and characterization. So I find that interesting that he used James Mason as a basis for adult Damien.
Yeah, that was interesting. This one I actually thought was kind of cool. So executive producer Richard Donner, who obviously had directed The Omen, had once considered directing this film, but was involved with legal problems involving the Salkind brothers, Ilya Salkind and Alexander Salkind, after being sacked from Superman 2.
The Salkinds, as much as I love them for Superman, they've caused so many problems with people. I've heard they are just like really difficult.
It's just interesting that Richard Donner has been like, every Omen thing has been tied up with Superman somehow.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Exact opposite, right?
Yeah.
And I guess we'll finish with a final one, just because this is, I know this is something that you and I always have, like, depending on what kind of movie it is, like almost like a pet peeve with, but it says, so the film's storyline applied retroactive continuity changes to the franchise's timeline. Damien Thorne had been a child in The Omen 76 and a teenager in Omen Damien in 78. Said, and it could not have been an adult in his 30s by the time the film was released in present-day times of 81. As such, the movie significantly retconned the series events from the first two films back further into the past to accommodate the series story's temporal shift. I kind
of have I don't know if I blame them for this, because I know it was released. I mean, did they actually say in the movie it took place in 1981?
That's what I was going to say. I don't remember them even giving a time frame.
No, because if that's the case, then I can accept that it's 20 years later and they're just
that's how I've always accepted it. And in fact, until I read the trivia, I'm like, oh, really? I said, I don't even think I noticed. I don't think they gave a year.
Stamped it. Yeah, I mean, unless they time stamped it, I don't believe that's a valid criticism.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they did somewhere. I mean, I know they gave his birthday a lot, and that retrograde with the
maybe.
So maybe that's where it was. And in all honesty, I didn't really pay attention to what date they were talking about, other than the 666 part of it. So maybe, but I don't know.
All right. Well, moving on. Omen IV: The Awakening. This was from 1991. I honestly, Brian, before we did this series, I don't think I knew this movie existed. I knew about the first three Omen movies, but I'm not sure, other than maybe seeing it in the box set or something. I never really gave this any thought, and I certainly didn't know it was from 1991. But this was a TV movie.
Yeah, I've seen it. I don't remember if I watched it on TV or if it appeared later on cable and I saw it, but I know I had seen it, but like once, I think.
Yeah, this one was totally new to me. Directed by Jorge Montesi and Dominique Othenen-Girard, starring Faye Grant as Karen York, Michael Woods as Gene York.
Sorry, I had to.
Faye. Oh yeah, I missed a golden opportunity there. The fantastic Michael Lerner, who is the highlight of this movie.
Yeah, he's
as
great.
Earl. Madison Mason as Dr. Hastings, Anne Hearn as Joe Thuson, Jim Burns as Noah, Don S. Davis as Jake Madison, and Asia Vieira as Delia.
Actually, Don Davis too was another highlight. I thought he was from Twin Peaks. I always like his portrayal of whatever he's in. He's one of those like character actor guys that's in a lot of stuff, but almost every time he's in it, he's always just whatever he has to do, he does it like perfect. So I always liked him.
Yeah, he's great. So this one is two attorneys adopt a mysterious orphan girl as their daughter, unaware that she is the new Antichrist, next in line from Damien Thorne. So essentially,
I can't believe they even tied this in with that. I thought this originally when I was watching this again. I literally thought this was just a new alternate storyline.
Yeah, they do mention it a couple times in the movie that she's the daughter of Damien.
Right.
They don't explain where Damien had a daughter at any point in Omen 3. I don't remember him having a daughter. I might be wrong, but
no, he didn't yet. He did. I mean, he did. He did have sex with that reporter, whatever she was in there. But I don't know. If maybe later on. But she didn't she die? Oh no, she survived.
But did she die?
I mean, did she die? I was like, I'm trying to. I know it was like just a day or two ago, but I can't. Now I'm like having trouble remembering because I watched.
My mind is already
erasing. I watched these all really fast, like in a row, like in a short time.
So I don't know that, or maybe there's something that happened after in between the movies. I don't know.
Well, no, but Damien died at the end of 3. Sorry,
spoiler. That's true. So he had to have. Yeah, you're right.
So I don't know. Like, maybe she had the baby, or then again, it's the way these things happen, and maybe it comes out of a Rottweiler. I don't know.
But this one is. Right? So this one goes. I mean, again, early 90s. I don't know what it was with evil kids in the early 90s, but this one follows the same early 90s evil kid formula that we just talked about on our dismemberment, which you'll hear tomorrow when it comes out, for the movie Mikey from 92. And the Macaulay Culkin, The Good Son, all came out around this time. And then from a comedy perspective, you had Problem Child 1 and 2 came out around this time. So there's some obsession with Problem Child, not a horror movie. That was a silly comedy. But you know what I mean? They were doing all these bad, evil kid things. And this one commits the cardinal sin of deviating from the subtle Damien evil that we've grown to know and love from the rest of the trilogy, and now she's just a straight up evil little creepy girl.
Yeah, and she and she knows it. That's the thing. Yes, she already knows she's up to something. And that to me takes away the heart of the other Omen movies, and that's where this automatically takes you out of this movie. Now, granted, towards the end, and I think literally they put this, it's all on Michael Lerner's back, and he kind of pulls it back in that last sequences of him in it, where I think he pulls it the closest it can to the original 3 movies. But even then, by that point, it's too late for me to really buy into it. And it is just, I mean, it's almost like, and Faye Grant I happen to like because she was great in V. I mean, that's what most people recognize her from. And I don't know what was with her in this movie, but she was just like, she all over the place. I mean, literally all over the place. I mean, she's like, I can't even tell I couldn't take her seriously. And I like her as an actress because I thought like I said, I loved her in V. But this, she was all over the place. I didn't buy the husband at all. He was just a dullard. Never really had any kind of it just seemed so one note. I mean, it seemed like a TV movie, which is bad really for a TV movie. There are TV movies that don't seem like TV movies. You don't wow, that was a TV. Like even that horrible Amityville one I saw that was a TV movie. That one, at least didn't seem as TV. This, literally, you could almost see when they were going to cut to commercial. I mean, it was that, this was a rough watch.
The score to this movie was so bad. It was my God. When they do, and it's only in TV movies, well, it's not only in TV movies, but it's common in TV movies, where the score is just kind of this whimsical, wacky, I mean, it doesn't fit with the tone. I don't know how to describe it. You'd have to watch it to see, but the score is just horrible. It completely took me out of the film. Took me out of the movie. I could not, after 20 minutes of this, all I could think about was the score and how bad it was. That's pretty bad. I mean, a decent score should at best, I mean, at worst, it should just be unmemorable and blend into the background that you don't even notice it.
And you're talking about a film franchise that had a legendary score throughout.
Yes.
And then you replace it with a carnival. I mean, you can't do that. What the? It's what it's like. I felt like that's what you hear when you're walking into a Midway.
It really did. Yeah. It was weird, and
there was a Midway scene in there too. Remember that weird? Psychic fair?
Psychic fair.
What the heck is that all about? And that didn't even literally look like they quickly grabbed tents and put it in someone's backyard. And this was just set pieces were terrible in this.
And there was this whole stupid thing about this aura. This guy could see auras, and they were focusing on her aura and how her aura photographed. And I was like, give it up with the stupid aura stuff. Like, it's just so, I don't know, it's just so dumb.
Yeah.
I don't know why they kept focusing on it.
Yeah, this was just, and there was just these random characters that would pop in and out, and like, it was just really, but like, I couldn't tell, at one point I couldn't tell who was on her, like, it's so clear in like the other Omens, you could tell who's like a Damien acolyte and who's not. Yeah. This, I couldn't tell who was who anymore, really. I like was losing track of what side people were on in this thing.
You could tell this movie was purely a grab on the name of the Omen. They knew nothing about the franchise. They other than the weakest tie-in to Damien. But I mean, there's no care or thought at all put into making this movie part of the series.
Other than like by names of like the previous characters. That's it. I mean, so couple of, like, I will say one of the, like, obviously we mentioned Michael Lerner, and is fantastic in this. He plays like this investigator, and does he nail that scene? And he just plays it so well. His death scene was decent, I guess, for a TV movie.
It was okay. Yeah,
I mean, it's funny, they tried to mimic by doing it slow and like drawn out, trying to mimic the famous decapitation scene from the first Omen. They failed miserably.
It was so drawn out that I almost started laughing near the middle.
It was, because he's like, they just keep showing close-ups of Michael Lerner, like, horrified look, and then back to the ball coming, and then
a wrecking ball,
wrecking ball, and then his face, and then back. It was like 3 beats too many. And I'm like, all right, I get it. Nobody has closed their eyes unless they fell asleep through this at this point.
Well, like, have you seen those like comedy movies, or like where they're like a guy's about to get crushed by a steamroller or something, and it cuts to the guy scared, and then it cuts to the steamroller, and it's moving like 2 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's like a Monty Python gag.
That's what it reminded me of. I was like, Jesus Christ, this wrecking ball's taking 5 minutes to crush him.
You go from the brilliance of one of the most perfectly crafted sequences by Richard Donner and into this, and I can't even believe I mentioned them in the same breath, but I know that's what this movie was so predictable that you knew that's what they were going for with that scene, and knew at the same time they weren't going to get close to it, no matter how good Michael Lerner. I feel bad because Michael Lerner like took so much on as like he basically saved this and made it somewhat watchable.
Yeah, although, he really did.
I will say, the girl that played Delia, which is the new Damien, I guess, Delia, but she wasn't horrible for what they gave her, I think.
No, she did a good job playing the creepy kid. I will give her that. I think she did an admirable job.
You know who she reminds me of? She reminds me of a younger version of Felissa Rose a little bit.
She does, yeah.
Like, I could see this girl, if they did a remake of... she was a little older, and they did a remake of Sleepaway Camp now, and they need someone that age, she would be good for it, because she kind of has that young Felissa Rose look to her. I mean, she's not as good of an actress as Felissa Rose, but, I mean, for this movie, she was fine with what she gave. I mean, she basically, they gave her a script, and they told her how to act, and I think she nailed for what she had to do, but just the script was, like, that whole sequence where she steals the kid's thing and goes up the ladder, and then he pees in his pants because he's too scared.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, what? That does not belong in an Omen film. What the heck is that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't want anything ever bad to happen to children, but in an Omen movie, that kid should have been flung off the thing. I mean, yes, his father got, like, tragically mushed, but he should have flew off that ladder to the ground, not pee his pants.
It's just the whole thing. I can't explain to anybody enough that's listening to this how much of a TV movie this feels like.
It really is.
And I don't know how to encapsulate, like, every choice, every artistic decision, every component of this movie screams, I am meant to be watched on ABC Family at 8 o'clock on Thursday night.
Yeah.
It's just so, It's just horrible.
Didn't you expect like Adam Sandler to come at that part and go, "Peeing in your pants is the coolest," like from Billy Madison? Like that's what I got. I got more of a Billy Madison
from that
vibe.
score. Yeah, it sounded like a Billy Madison score.
Yeah, when you're going to an Adam Sandler movie reference from an Omen film, you've gone horribly down the wrong path. And yeah, this one, while I will say, like Michael Lerner, you were awesome. You did an amazing job, and Delia or Asia Vieira did another fantastic job, and Don Davis, you were a small role, but you did a great job. But the rest of this movie, oh my God, this was
bad. Now, I will say, we're going to jump to some trivia here real quick, but this had planned to be a series of TV sequels in the Omen series. This one was so critically slammed and so hated and such terrible ratings that it basically killed the Omen franchise until the remake in 2006.
Yeah, well, no joke. So here's this thing, and this was another subplot. Well, not even a subplot. This was the big reveal, supposedly, at the end. So about this fetus Paparachus.
Oh, this is creepy. This is the creepiest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, this one was creepy, but it says a fetus. Papyruses?
Papyruses.
I don't know. Is known as a being a vanishing twin. The Wikipedia website states a vanishing twin, also known as a fetal resorption, is a fetus in a multi-gestation pregnancy which dies in utero and is then partially or completely reabsorbed by the twin. The occurrence of this phenomenon is sometimes referred to as twin embolization syndrome or vanishing twin syndrome. Since the 1980s, when twin pregnancies were made visible early on by means of ultrasound. Occasionally, rather than being completely reabsorbed, the dead fetus will be compressed by its growing twin to a flattened parchment-like state known as fetus papyruses. But now, the reason I bring that up, you're like, why are you giving me a scientific lesson? Well, the reason is because at some point in the movie, you find out that Delia, apparently, as a child, had yet another fetus. There was another boy fetus that when she went for her checkup, that you find out the doctor, who was this nice guy the whole time, was apparently evil, and he removed that fetus from a baby, I guess, or a child, and then put it in the mother during a gynecological exam. And then this was going to be born into another. Really, at that point, that late in the movie, when half the people are probably asleep, you're going to hit us with that kind of plot point? This one this was just bad. Yeah. I don't even think we need more trivia. No. That's enough.
All I will say, Delia, the name Delia reminded me of that Johnny Cash song, Delia's Gone, which is a great song. It's about a guy that murders his girlfriend. It's really creepy. So
yeah. Actually, I will say one other thing, and this just explains it exactly. This is like a good metaphor for why this movie. Another reason why this movie didn't work. It says it's the only Omen film centered around the mythology of Damien Thorn, not to feature the legendary daggers of Megiddo. This unusual as producer Harvey Bernhardt apparently retained possession of them after the original film series had been completed. So he had them, but I guess I don't know why he didn't use it, and it just shows one more thing. You take one of the most iconic props in the other movies and not use it at all. I mean...
And I actually thought that was one of the more interesting aspects of Omen III.
Right.
Was the whole thing with the daggers. I thought that was like one of the more interesting pieces of the plot. And
they all took one and kind of went on. Yeah.
It at least gave something to the plot of that movie. I don't know.
Yeah. But this, nothing. But all right. Let's move on now to the remake.
Let's move on.
Yeah. So, do I do this? Yeah, I do this one, right? Okay. So, great. And I gave the one I was with all these names. Okay. So this one is the Omen remake 2006 with John Moore, and it stars half the people that were in Harry Potter movies. No. Okay. It stars Predrag Bijelak as the Vatican Observatory, Carlo Sabatini as Cardinal Fabriati. Why is this not in the right? This is in a weird order, but this, I guess, is the IMDb order. Bohumil Svark as the Pope, Liev Schreiber as Robert Thorne, Giovanni Lombardo Radice as Father Spoleto, Julia Stiles as Catherine Thorne, Seamus Davy Fitzpatrick as Damien, Harvey Stevens as the Tabloid Reporter 3. I had to put that in even though it was such a small role because he's awesome and obviously the great tie-in to the original Omen. Pete Postlethwaite, the amazing Pete Postlethwaite, as Father Brennan, Mia Farrow as Mrs. Blaylock, David Thewlis, oh my God, one of my favorite people in actors ever there as Keith Jennings and Michael Gambon as Bugenhagen. So you got like some good Harry Potter connection right there.
Yeah,
but
right.
Also the guy that played Karkaroff, which your brother still thinks is Victor Crumb's father. Karkaroff in Goblet of Fire was in this too. So there's 3 Harry Potter people in this movie, which is great.
Yeah.
But so the synopsis, of course, this is a straight remake. And its American official realizes that his young son may literally be the devil incarnate. So I'm going to give a quick major thing on this. So with remakes, it's tricky, right? Because we've always said this before whenever we've done a remake. You want to give it its own vision, but there's this really fine line. You don't want it too close to where, why did you make it in the first place? And you have to balance it in with the same story that everyone loves, but with enough change to make it interesting. I will say this came close. It came close because I actually really enjoyed this one. I hadn't seen this since it first came out. And so I was kind of like, at this point after seeing Omen the Awakening, I'm just like, oh God.
Yeah.
So maybe I enjoyed it way more because of the Drek I just saw before that. But I will say this had its moment. Like I think the visual set pieces to this one were fantastic. Everything went like almost, instead of a remake, it had a sequel thing where everything was bigger. Like the house, the floor was bigger from that iconic scene where she falls. It's taller. It's like way bigger. That sequence in the like there's one sequence when they encounter the nun selling the jewelry when they're trying to find that priest. It's like this big vast square, and like just everything is bigger and just more visually, because because it's obviously it's more modern.
Yeah.
But and still there was just obviously to compare it to the original's always gonna win out still. But I will say I did actually really enjoy this movie, and there were some performances in this I think that were the key to it. Now I'll do my little well, actually go through what you thought of it first, then we'll go through the performances. I think.
Okay, I enjoyed it. I think my biggest takeaway from it is it's not a bad movie. It's an unnecessary movie because I don't feel like they differed enough from the original to make it worth making, if that makes sense. But
right, that's why I said it came close.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it a bad movie. It's not a bad remake. They were very faithful to the original, which was good. I mean, they weren't disrespectful to the original. I think my biggest problem was I'm not sure. I love Liev Schreiber and I love Julia Stiles. I'm not sure I necessarily love them in this role. And that's
funny you said that because I was going to say the same thing. So I thought Liev Schreiber did a good job though, but I didn't buy that their chemistry was off. Their chemistry was not there. There was much better chemistry between Lee Remick and oh my God, I'm going to butcher his Gregory Peck. Sorry.
Yeah.
And you know what I was going to say? I was like, for some reason I lost place and it threw me off. But yeah, so Gregory Peck and Lee Remick had much better chemistry as husband and wife than Liev Schreiber and Julia Stiles. And Julia Stiles was one of my favorite actresses out there. And I got to meet her. I told that story before. She's great, but it's weird. I see, and this is no fault of her own, but I like perpetually see her as that angsty teen college student. And she nails those roles so well. Now, not to say she's not capable, because there were sequences in this she played really well.
Yeah.
But there's also some lines that I'm just like, she delivered it so flat. And that's strong because she's a good actress. So the fact that she delivered certain things, like when her scream when she went down the stairs was really well done and intense. And I thought she played that one really good. But there are just some sequences where I just didn't buy it.
I always blame that on the director.
Right?
If you have a good act, I mean, look at Natalie Portman in the Star Wars movie.
Right?
She's a freaking Oscar-winning actress, and and when they give like these flat lines of dialogue and stuff, I have to believe there's something with the director is off.
Right, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean that's why I feel bad even saying this because I like in my mind like Julia Stiles does no wrong. So the fact that I can even nitpick anything she did is it was really hard, and I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm not like really being sold on her performance. But you're right. It probably the dialogue was, I mean, because there was actually some dialogue which was exact dialogue from the original. And so that's tough right there, because that's dialogue from back in the 70s versus dialogue now. And it's definitely a modern take on it. So you're like, you can't like really, sometimes it always doesn't play out right.
But even the modern take, the thing I don't understand, and again, why I say this movie's unnecessary, and again, I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it, because I really did. I enjoyed the remake. I had a good time watching it, and I don't mind it. But I'm just kind of pointing out some observations I had while I was watching it. Is that movie something that needs an update? Because I thought when I went back and watched the original Omen, it actually holds up really well. I mean, even for such an older movie, it still, I thought, held up pretty well. Like, I can see remaking a movie from the 50s maybe, but from 76, I don't know where they updated it, I guess is what I'm saying, because most of the scenes were straight out from the original movie. So, I mean, other than it looks modern because it was set, because it was made in 2006, I just don't know. I don't know where I don't know where the purpose of this movie was, other than maybe to just reboot the franchise, which obviously didn't work.
Yeah, and I would have actually, after seeing this one, I actually would have liked to have seen this series, this continue, just to see where it would go, how they would play off on Omen 2, but go a different way, like not continue exactly Omen 2, but go from a new storyline. And see, I was thinking too, because I was like, if this movie, like if there was no original Omen series and this came out, I think this would have been a bigger favorite of a lot of people, because I think it was good enough to hold on its own, but the problem is it's not. It's a known remake. And that whenever that they have that distinction to a movie, there's too much preconception. It's very rare that you can completely get out of that and judge it on its own merits. I mean, I try, but the best I can. And I think what was good is I think there were some. I mean, granted, there's a little bit of stunt casting in this, okay, with having Mia Farrow.
I actually enjoyed that.
I loved it. Yeah. Well, I was going to say it's not a bad thing, but I was going to say, but you shouldn't have to rely on that to carry the movie. But remakes tend to do that. That's another thing that remakes do. It's almost that like, oh, what's your dream cast for this kind of thing. Yeah. So,
although I will have to say, I thought Mia Farrow was fantastic.
She was incredible. She was actually. I think she was almost
better than the real Mrs. Baylock.
Yeah, I agree. No, she is better. And I thought Pete Postlethwaite was incredible.
Yes, he was.
I thought David Thewlis was listen, if you're not going to have David Warner, you've got probably the next best person.
That was
person
an
back.
Incredible bit of casting, I thought.
Yeah.
Because they look similar. They even have a similar look.
Right. They look similar, and he just, like... I mean, David Thewlis is just a great actor anyway. I mean, I know, he played Remus Lupin in the Harry Potter series, and I thought he was one of the strongest things in the whole movie series already. Yeah. And to see him in this, and to be so good in this... I'm like, wow, this was, and I don't count this as stunt casting. I just count this as great casting, because David Thewlis is not that known to everybody to where, I mean, obviously Harry Potter fans will recognize him instantly, but like, if you're not seen a Harry Potter movie, you may not know who he is. Right. So, and that's not to say anything. That just could be the people just don't know him. It doesn't mean anything less of him. But I thought he was one of the strongest points in this movie too. Along with, it was like that Pete Postlethwaite, Mia Farrow, David Thewlis like trio. I think was so strong that they really made this movie better than it probably should have been based off the other casting.
Did you meet Liev Schreiber? Somebody I know met Liev Schreiber.
No, I didn't meet him. But I always used to never think he was like. I thought he was always kind of like everyone would always rave about him, and I never thought. But I thought he did a good job, and I don't think he was the problem in this. I think because I think his just general demeanor seems to be kind of like his character had to be. So I think it was pretty easy for him. I just didn't buy the whole chemistry. Yeah. There was no chemistry between him and Julia Stiles. There just wasn't there.
I know somebody that met him. and I can't think who it was, but somebody I know met him on the street and said he was like the nicest guy ever. Like randomly,
yeah, I bet he would
be.
Yeah. I probably is. He seems like a
like they literally like basically saw him walking on the street and said, "Hey, are you Liev Schreiber?" And he said, "Yeah." And he stopped and talked to him, and they just said he was the nicest guy. So I
love hearing stories like that.
I do too. I love it when you find out an actor is really cool. So I've always loved Liev Schreiber. Also from that story, because I'd heard that story and I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, he's a good guy. I don't know if he can carry this type of movie. Like he is, I mean, as much as I love him, he is not Gregory Peck. And I wonder if this movie would have been better if it had had a stronger, I hate to say stronger actor because I think he's a great actor, but just a more, I don't know, a more A-list, for lack of a better word, actor in that role. And again, Julia Stiles, again, another one of my favorites, but I just feel like this movie, to be a true remake of a classic like The Omen, almost needed a higher caliber of leads.
Yeah.
I just wonder if it would have been better because of that. But I don't know. I still enjoyed it. As remakes go, it's not the worst. It's definitely not the worst.
By far it's not the worst.
Yeah.
And actually, like I said, I probably would have really enjoyed it. Like if it just became its own thing and I saw it, I think it would have just been, I mean, I did really enjoy it, but I think it would have been enjoyed more and accepted more if it wasn't a remake of something. If it just came out the way it is, it was really good. And it held your interest throughout the whole time. And I think you're right. And it had a good balance to being really faithful to the original. It respected the original.
Yeah.
Really strong.
Almost to a fault.
Yeah. Almost to a fault. And I'll tell you, as far as their version of the decapitation scene, they hit it good. That was crazy good, that sequence. And I mean, I probably, if I had to pick, I'd prefer the original just because it's so iconic. But they didn't want to make an exact duplicate of this, so they kind of made it. And they did their own little twist on it, which I thought was pretty good. And actually, same thing with the Pete Postlethwaite getting the impalement of the priest, which I thought was, it's kind of like a little bit on the cheat side of to see the impalement in the original. This one, obviously with better effects, you can.
Although I almost wish, as when they did their own twist on the decapitation scene, I almost wish they'd done that for every kill, and they really almost were too faithful sometimes in other respects. So it was kind of a weird mix. It's like they were almost pulled their punches.
Well, they did change the Julia Stiles, the Catherine Thorne kill, which was way more excruciating and and slow and more I think more intense than I mean, she got thrown out the window in the first one, but this one was way more just a slow death, more suffering involved and
I guess
sinister.
So, yeah.
So I mean, they did make a twist on that at least.
I will say I did not feel like this Damien was particularly creepy like the first Damien, and I don't know if that's just my nostalgia.
Why? I'll tell you why, and I noticed it right away. He spoke too much. He was talking right from the beginning. He's talking early on in the thing, and I don't remember the other Damien really saying more than a word or two.
Yeah, that's true.
This, he was having conversations, and he was much more interactive with people.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. To me, the whole movie, he didn't strike me as particularly creepy like the first Damien.
Yeah, I mean, and they did change, obviously, the different zoo, because it was the zoo now was inside, and the apes were trying to smash through, but I think they cut away, but I would have loved to see that ape, rampage or something, and, but who knows? I mean, with I that's what I kind of, because I don't remember it as well in that part, so I was expecting them to come out and God forbid shoot the poor ape or something because it break through finally, but yeah, no, I mean, I think the Damien, the kid that played Damien was, I mean, he was okay, but you're right, he definitely was not Harvey Stevens creepy, because it was just, I think there was too much of a kid in him. Yeah, at some level. Does that make sense? He was talking and he was interacting too much, and it was just, I don't know. I just didn't, I don't know. There was a little something, I think, and that's what it was. That was a little off. I mean, I mean, I guess, I mean, let's jump to a couple of trivia pieces, but, I mean, overall, I definitely enjoyed this by all means. I did enjoy this movie, and it's actually one one I'd probably watch again, you know?
Yeah, me too. Let's go through it. What would your ranking be? I think mine will probably line up with yours.
Oh, right. We haven't done this in a while. So I you know what I do? I think I'd go 1, 2, remake, 3, 4.
I think that's exactly what I would do. I would definitely put the remake above Omen 3.
I would because nothing against poor Sam Neill. I know I want to stress that one more time because I thought his portion of it was great. But I think that's the way you have to go. I mean, because, and you know what's funny is, like, I don't remember, like, I remember liking 2, but I never remember, like, it seems like I grew more appreciation for 2 this time, and, like, what I thought I used to love 3 more, 3 went down, so it's kind of interesting. I watch it years later, and that's what happens. But 1 and 2 were super strong and really deserving of the top 2. And I know always the original always has that edge to be number 1 because it's the original. But this one, I think it really, like, does stand above it because it still holds up after all these years.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind for this series. Yeah. Now, I'll tell you, the series we're coming up on, which, like, Wrong Turn, Paranormal Activity, and even Final Destination, where you have so many entries, are going to be really interesting when we get to the rankings of how we're going to.
Yeah, I think Wrong Turn especially, because I think there's 7 or 6. There's 6 of those, so that gets trickier in there. I mean, I'm sure probably 1 is going to be number 1. I would probably, I can almost go and predict that right now.
Yeah. For
that one, but
it'll be interesting.
But I guess we'll so I guess we'll just quickly do a couple of trivia pieces here. Here's one I have to say is kind of funny. So it says and this may have been a detriment to it. It says during filming, Seamus Davy Fitzpatrick, who played Damien, was never told that his character was supposed to be the son of the devil. Julia Stiles commented that it was because the filmmakers thought he was too young to understand it, but he was really obedient when producer and director John Moore asked him for the Damien face.
Yeah, maybe they should have told him.
Yeah, maybe they should have told him, like, look, or at least say, hey, you need to pretend you're a little angry all the time, or something, something, because he played too friendly of a kid.
This one, if you guys have not noticed, Harvey Stevens, who portrayed Damien in The Omen, appeared in this remake as a cameo as a tabloid reporter who asked Robert Thorne if the deceased nanny was on drugs. So that's kind of interesting.
I kind of like that. Let's see.
No, not great trivia for this one, really.
Yeah, it's really not. I mean, here's one. It just says, the day after they filmed the scene where Robert cuts his son's hair to reveal the birthmark, the entire scene was completely destroyed. Actually, you know what? When I was watching it this time, it made me think of something I meant to ask for the first movie, too. It seems like Damien always very aware when someone is trying to hurt him or basically block his path to Armageddon. Why do you think that was intentional, that he knew exactly what he wanted, and he wanted, in both movies, in the remake and the original, Damien wanted the father to discover that birthmark? Because it seemed like he goes in with a scissors, which looks like, they both make it look like he's going to be in some kind of aggressive nature, but then it's just so he could cut the hair to see the birthmark. I always wondered, I'm like, wow, how come nothing's happening to him here? Is it intention to see? Because maybe it plays out that he knows he trying to. I don't know. I always thought that was kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah,
I mean, it works for dramatic purposes, obviously, but I didn't know if that was an intentional choice to not have that any kind of detection on Damien's part.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. Interesting to think about. Well, let's get to our beer pairing for this. Yeah. Did we? I guess we did a. Are you doing a beer pairing for each segment or just one for the whole series?
I found a new one for this one.
Okay, great.
So, and this one, it makes sense because obviously the Omen was the first one, but Damien actually was even though he was the main point, he really didn't develop into the true Damien character that he did as all the way through the final conflict. So I found a beer called Damien, and it's by Surly Brewing in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, and it's 6.5%, and this sounds like a really cool description here. It says, from the blackest depth of the brew house comes Damien, child of darkness, spawned from the usually discarded remnants of darkness, which it must be one of their other beers. Damien is a dry hop black ale with flavors of roasted malt, dark brown sugar, tangerine, and pine aromatics only add to its insidious appeal.
That sounds good.
Yeah. So that was pretty good. We managed to get this just about
just
the time
under
point
the hour.
We wanted. Yeah.
So, that was the Omen series. And guys, send in what your ranking of the Omen series was if you want, or if you have any questions for us to discuss about it. Send them in to our Gmail at civilwarepodcast@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And we will be back next week with one I'm really excited to start on, and that is the Wrong Turn series.
Yeah.
Which I've only seen the first one and maybe bits of another one that I don't even know which one it was. So this is going to be a brand new one for me. I'm really excited to delve into this one.
Yeah, and I've seen the first one a lot of times, and I think I've seen the sequels, I think everything but the last one through various times, but like by far I hardly remember them. I remember one took place in like almost like a hospital setting or something. It was like an awkward setting type of thing. But that's the only one I kind of remember differently from the first couple.
So yeah, we will be doing the first 3 films in part 1 and the last 3 in part 2.
Yep. So tune in next week.
All right, guys. We will see you back here next week. And remember, if your child has a 666 birthmark, give them up for adoption.
Yes. And I'm giving the Damien stare, but you can't tell because it's an audio podcast.